Welcome to our show. We are Ignite Your Purpose. I am your host, JB. He is your host. He's Max, and this is episode 90 we've got here in a heartbeat. So each and every day we bring to you some knowledge, experience, our lifestyles, and we try to share the good, the bad, and the ugly, hopefully so that you may make some good decisions, or at least you will go in with an informed opinion of choice. And so today, Maximus Aurelius, what are we speaking?
We're going to talk about the bailout economy lifestyle. So the bailout economy and the bailout lifestyle, I think that this planet may be getting used to. So let's take a step back, and I'm going to tell you about a story that happened today, but I'm going to take a step back.
Okay.
Now, my upbringing, being around a lot of immigrant families, right? So I used to talk to the old, well, not that I'd ask them, they would always tell, the old Hungarians, the old Italians, the old Irish, the old East Indians that came over, the old, any nationality, any tribe that came over, right? Anybody. And they would tell me how they came over here with nothing. Usually a suitcase and $5 to $70 in their pocket. And they got off the boat or however they got here, train, plane, automobile. And it was like, have at it. Go figure your life out. You went from somewhere not so good, you're here, get her done, right?
Yeah,
You know what I'm talking about, right, John?
Oh,
You got
gotcha.
tons of our elders who are like that, right? And they had nothing. Husband, wife, maybe kids, or just solo. Fast forward, I was in the bank today. And John, I know I've got 10 long years of this sotozen and this meditation, bro, but I was taking to the edge today. I sat in a line. It wasn't even a line. It was two families, all right? Mother, son, dad, daughter, two different families, both from south of the border, being the United States of America, and which was weird, but they both wanted the same things done. So I didn't know if they were related or not, but they weren't in the end. And I sat there, and they may have been, yeah.
Ding,
And
ding, 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 ding.
yeah, what were they? Maybe they're from the backwoods. But
Deliverance, right?
I
Yeah.
sat there for 25 minutes, bro. The bank was empty. It was midday. I was the line until 25 minutes later. There was about 15 people, right? But when they went up, this is what they heard. I heard, well, from the lady was, you know, my daughter or my son needs, what did she say? How did she say it? Pulled the credit card out for the kid. Now, and when I say kid, I don't mean 13. I'm talking I'll say early 20s. All right? So I couldn't understand this because at 20, bro, I'd been on my own for 4 or 5 years already, right? Mommy takes out the credit card. My son is having troubles printing out his statement for the last year. Why you would need that, I do not know. So she gives it to the clerk to start doing this, right? And the words came out of her mouth, the son's mouth, was actually, it's not so much that it's any trouble, but I just told my mom I'm too busy and I can't figure this out and don't want to do it. So I need somebody to do it for me. Word for word, verbatim, while he sat on his phone with his head down, tweeting, texting, all the rest, man. And I started bubbling, man. I was like, now I got to sit here, and I'm trying to be peaceful, but I'm like, it got me thinking because I had nothing but time to think for 25 minutes, right? About the bailout this, the handouts that, the socialism this, the car companies that were bailed. Everybody's been bailed out. And it just gets me to thinking, like, where does that start and where does that stop and how does that cycle go? And I'm not saying it's good or bad. I'm just saying I was so in the middle of that waiting for it to end. And I was just like, but this is the society now. I can't be mad at them, can I? When the government kind of laid the foundation for that, right? John, what are you thinking of my ramblings there?
So, do
Have
you
you
know
been in
the
that experience?
do you know the diagram of evolution? We start off as in the sea, and then we come out of the sea, and then we're crawling, then we're climbing, then we're walking, then we're humans. So we've got this evolution. I kind of think it's starting to go back the other way
Oh, God, I hope not.
because we're having choice. We go on the computer and things are put in front of us that we want to see. So our ability to make choices and interpret information, it's and we don't know how to do something. So I can't. I don't want to. Can you, mummy? It's uh, people are either having their ability to make responsible choices or decisions taken from them, or they just can't be bothered because it's too easy. And that was a bit of a ramble. But what I was going to say is, it's. I think I read about this 5 or 6 months ago in the Telegraph, or one of the main tabloids over here, and it's how people are now going through school, and little Sally wants to get into a certain ballet class, but it's full. So mummy has a word and she gets in. Or Jimmy wants to go to a certain, he hasn't quite got the grades to do something, but dad goes and has a word with somebody at the golf club who has a word with somebody, and then he gets into the class, and then somebody else gets into the university college that he shouldn't have done. So basically, for their whole lives, children are not wiping their own asses, and they don't know what it is to fail or to lose or for someone to say no. Everybody gets a prize. 17th in the three-legged race, and you get a prize or a medal. And we're not allowed to fail, and we're not allowed to learn these lessons of losing and failure and having to wait. When I grew up, I had to save my money and wait until I to buy that new pair of shoes or that record or whatever it is, or to do extra chores. But now it's this handout, bailout. Yes, you can. I'll do it. It'd be easier, quicker, and less hassle if I just do it. Now, let's fast forward. These individuals have gone through kindergarten, clubs, so all the things, school, university, and they've got themselves a job in a business doing something that they may not necessarily have got there otherwise. This isn't everybody. There are some people out there who...
Oh, of course.
I heard of a guy last week. I might come back to that. But they graft and graft and graft and graft. A guy I work for every now and again, he's got employees. One guy cycled from Estonia to the Isle of Man for a job interview about 10 years ago. Cycled because he couldn't afford the way. Anyway, so these people are now in these jobs, and there's nobody there to wipe their asses anymore, and they're failing to meet the expectations of their employers, and they're all having freaking nervous breakdowns and midlife crises in their 20s and early 30s because they don't know how to deal with somebody saying, not good enough, go away, work harder, or you're sacked or you're fired. That's my little spin on things.
I'm with you. And my question was, I want to be mad, right? I'm sitting there waiting, twiddling my friggin' thumb. Something that should have taken 2 minutes tops took, like I said, as long as it did. And I'm sitting there going, who can I be mad at? Who can I can't be mad at that kid. It's not his or her fault. Can I be mad at that parent? Because that was a learned behavior that they were taught, right? They're making up for their insecurities and missing out and whatever. I'm being a little judgmental there, but so they're giving their extras to the kid, right? I couldn't be mad at anybody. It's just the way that it is. And then to go on your point that not everybody's like that. There's a viral video going around, that kid down in California in Silicon Valley. I'm not sure if you saw that, but he's out there on the street corner. Instead of looking for a handout, he's got this big sign saying, take my resume. I want a job. Right? So he's like a homeless guy looking for work, but he's not begging for money. He's actually tossing out his resume looking for work.
Yeah.
That's the hustle. That's what I like to see, right? So I don't want to paint all of us with the same brush, but
No, there's this bias to ask or to have the handout rather than to do. There was another one. There was a guy. He'd been given a job with a removals company. This was a couple of weeks ago in the US. Car broke down. He walked through the night to the job, turned to put the address. The people were like that. He's a freaking weirdo. Kind of. Then they took him in. They sat him down, gave him tea, gave him breakfast. He then did the day's work, and within a couple of days, the owner of that removals company turned up with a brand new car. Well, not brand spanking new car.
Well, yeah,
a replacement car for this guy, because on his first day, rather than saying the car broke down, I couldn't do it, he got off his arse, he walked the miles, and he got to the job, and he got it done to not let the business down. So there you go.
Fair enough. I guess on that one, I would, when I say the bailout economy, bailout lifestyle, I guess I would agree with Gary V, right? I think the have-nots are going to have been spoon-fed, man. They're going to want it more.
Yeah.
And that doesn't go for every single one of them. There's obviously exceptions to every rule, but I mean, when I see kids that are, 14, 15, 16 years old driving cars way doper than mine, you set the bar so high, man. Where do you go from there at 14, right? It is what it is, I guess. But
It is what
that's
it
our
is.
rant for today, John.
Yeah, there's a whole nother conversation we can get onto there, but let's save it for another day, perhaps.
Let's do it.
Thanks for listening. I'm really hoping that we can. We're going to hook up a three-way conversation either tomorrow or Sunday night, Monday morning with a friend of mine. He is in Australia, middle-aged millennial. So Max is 7 hours behind me. Tommy lives in Singapore. That's 7 hours ahead of me, but he's in Australia, which is 12 hours or something difference from Matt. I don't know. Anyway, there's
That's
a big
too much
way.
math for
We're going to really try and get this conversation together. We've had a few combos going, and he's got a really interesting backstory. So let's see where it goes. But thanks for listening. You could be anywhere in the world, but you're here with us. We thank you.
We appreciate. Bye-bye. See you tomorrow.
Thank you. Good night. Ciao.